Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Aaron.
Aaron is here with Sterling. Let me show the display names. There we go. That's a little better. It's been a little while since we've done a video together, man. How's it going?
It's good. It's good. Busy. The beginning of the year is always crazy for me, but it's good. It's good. Apparently, I haven't missed out on a whole bunch of stuff. I've been trying to catch up. I've been a fanboy for the last month and a half, 2 months. But yeah, it's good.
It hasn't been that long since we've done a video, has it?
It has been. I think it's been almost 3 months. I think the last video we did together was a game night.
You've completely lost your sense of time. It has not been 3 months.
Yes. Okay, maybe 2 months, because today's February 1st. No, today's January 31st.
I haven't even been kicked off the Aftermath Foundation for 3 months.
No. Okay, 2 months. Then 2 months.
It was like November 13th. So it's been, yeah. So anyway.
It's the end of January. January's done. It's the 31st today.
All right, guys. For anyone who's been living under a rock, you can find Sterling's channel at Sterling Tompkins or at Leaving Scientology. Loving life. We don't have a very specific detailed agenda for this chat, but there is some wild stuff started happening yesterday that is worth not ignoring. So, I mean, especially since, so much of SPTV is former second, third, fourth, fifth generation Scientologists telling their story. I think what works, what people connect with the most, what is successful on this platform is people just putting it all out there, being honest, telling their full story, being true, being honest and telling the full truth about their own story, warts and all. I think that is the virtue of the YouTube platform. And if you look at the platform, if you look at the channels that are most successful, it's not people who manage their image or their reputation. It's people who lay it all out there and aren't hiding or covering up or pretending. People don't connect with that type of behavior.
Right.
And I guess what I feel like what I would encourage people who are interested in doing this, what I have encouraged people to do and what I will keep encouraging people to do is to not worry about protecting their image, but just be as open, genuine, honest, and vulnerable as possible. And that is something that Miriam Francis has been doing. And down the rabbit hole, Alex the Rabbit published something yesterday that, since it's public and since the letter from the attorney she received specifically said, please publish this letter in its entirety in every video that you do about this, I feel like we should honor that request. So let's take a look at this very confusing letter. Okay, so Down the Rabbit Hole News said, I consider myself the underdog. Ask the Aftermath Foundation how they feel about victims. Okay, let's see what this letter is. So this is a letter that was sent to Alex the Rabbit from attorney Ford Green regarding Miriam Francis, Mike Rinder, and the Aftermath Foundation. Now, guys, for anyone who may not know, Miriam Francis is a second-generation Scientologist. She lives in Australia. She is a former Sea Org member. She was one of the people who was in the Sea Org as a child. I'm gonna, if I try to remember the details of how old she was when she went here or there, I'm going to get it all wrong. I don't know. Do you know any of the details off the top of your head?
A little bit. I can say that at the age of 3, I believe she was 3 when her mom left her and her brothers, or brother at the time, I think. She has 2, but in Australia, and then moved to Los Angeles. And then from, that I know that as a starting point. So very young.
She spent time, in the cadet org as a child, and then later in the Sea Org and all that. And now Miriam was featured in season 2, episode 1 of the Scientology and the Aftermath show to tell her extremely disturbing story of being abused as a child by her father. Okay. Like, It is a sickening story.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this says Miriam Francis, Mike Rinder, and the Aftermath Foundation. Dear Alex the Rabbit and Down the Rabbit Hole News. I am the general counsel of the Aftermath Foundation. Okay, so that's news to me that the Aftermath Foundation has general counsel. Ray Jeffrey is a board member who is an attorney. In this 6 or 7 years I was running the foundation, we did not have a general counsel, so this is a new development. Okay, I am the general counsel of the Aftermath Foundation. This letter responds to the email you sent this date to Aftermath Foundation board member Mike Rinder, in which you seek his comment on a series of questions you enumerate 1 to 16. We respectfully request you include this letter in its entirety in any YouTube discussion you conduct regarding Miriam Francis's allegations as part of your Down the Rabbit Hole News public platform. Each of the 16 questions you propound on Miss Francis's behalf are crafted to assume discreditable facts that impugn Mike Rinder and the Aftermath Foundation's moral character and integrity, respectively. Each of the 16 questions thus assumes one or more facts, the truth of which Mr. Rinder and the Aftermath Foundation completely dispute. Benjamin Franklin and many others have noted, he that lieth down with dogs shall rise up with fleas. Based on the structure of your questions and Mr. Franklin's wisdom, we respectfully decline your invitation for any further engagement. Now, one thing that you and I, in my opinion, should avoid doing is trying to preempt, not preempt, but to front run any conversation that Miriam is clearly already planning on having regarding the subject and the questions that were posed here. So we're not going to do that. What I can tell you is that Alex the Rabbit did not send questions from Alex the Rabbit, because I asked, I said, what is the email? What are the 16 questions that this letter is even referring to?
Right.
So I saw the email, I saw the questions. We won't go over the questions because that's not our place. But I can tell you this, they were not questions that Alex the Rabbit was sending to Mike Rinder. They were questions that Miriam Francis herself was sending to Mike Rinder. Alex merely forwarded them to Mike. It was not sent to the Aftermath Foundation. The questions did not impugn the Aftermath Foundation. One of the things that confuses me is that an email that was sent to Mike Rinder, the individual former Scientologist and former Sea Org member, is being responded to by the general counsel of the Aftermath Foundation. Right. That is something I completely don't understand. I also don't understand how any attorney could send such a snide, derogatory response about comparing either Miriam or Alex to a dog with fleas,
or anyone advocating for Miriam could be. I'm going to go off if I have to comment on that last paragraph. I can't. It's beyond me to even understand how any human being could make reference to Miriam or even Alex, who's advocating for Miriam, and make that sort of statement. To me, again, I don't know all the insides and outs, all the details. I haven't seen everything, but I don't need to see anything but that response and go, what the, like, how is that possible? Yeah, again, and I don't want to take away from any future videos are coming in, and I'm sure I'll end up commenting on it several times, but there's a little bit of a fire inside on that. I don't hate anyone in this particular field or on SPTV. I don't like to hold hate in my heart, but this one gets me fired up because I can't understand a response, especially to a victim. I don't. I wish there was words to explain it better. I can't. So. Yeah.
And one of the reasons I wanted to at least comment on the letter itself, since it was made public, is that, this world of former Scientologists does not have a hierarchy. And to me, this letter and this response, to me personally, my personal opinion, just reeks of this idea that the people represented in this letter think that they represent some sort of an unquestionable hierarchy in the former Scientology world, who cannot be questioned, who should not be expected to be transparent, who should not be expected to answer questions, who should not be challenged. And if you will, we're going to send our lawyers after you. Now, I don't want to mischaracterize the letter. There's no threat in the letter. The letter doesn't even say you better not do the video. That's the other thing that honestly confused me about the letter. If the entire purpose of the letter was just to be like, hey, we're not going to respond to this. Well, first of all, then just don't respond to it. You don't have to send a letter saying you're not going to respond to it. But if you're going to send a letter saying we're not going to respond to it, why would you bother putting an insult at the end of the letter? Here's what actually really pisses me off about this even more. I've been told by many people who are still in touch with Mike, Mark, and Claire that the foundation has hired more than one crisis management consultant to help them navigate the turbulent waters that they've been navigating after November 13th. I don't know who could possibly be consulting them or what advice they could possibly be receiving, but I have not seen any behavior that would indicate they're following any advice from any crisis management experts. And if you consider that they're spending their, hard-won donations and tax-exempt dollars on crisis management firms, and now they're spending money on a general counsel, how in the hell does this letter make it out? How in the hell does this letter end up being approved? And how in the hell does the person who wrote this letter say, please include the entirety of this letter that makes us look horrible in any video that you do about Miriam Francis? How in the world is this even a thing that's happening? I don't know what to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, I thought Scientology won the gold medal for stupid responses. I hate to say it, and again, not biased towards these people, but this one takes the cake. To add the insult at the end, when you could clearly just say, hey, we're choosing not to respond to it. Not that it's right, but you could just clearly say, hey, we're choosing not to respond to this. We don't think the questions are appropriate, or whatever it may be. But to add the insult to the end, almost as an admission that you are covering something up or trying some tact, which is, I don't understand. I really don't. And we're assuming that everyone approved this and that it went through everyone. And, maybe the case that it didn't, but you got to assume that everyone signed off on that on the board before it went out, and no one questioned it. I mean, yeah.
And the other thing is, if all it's going to say is we're not going to answer, why didn't Mike Rinder just answer the email and say, I'm not going to answer? Why? Yeah. What's even the point of the letter coming from an attorney and a California attorney, nonetheless, when Miriam doesn't live in California, Mike doesn't live in California, Rabbit doesn't live in California. And it's not like Ford Green's just a nobody. Ford Green has a history of actually litigating against Scientology. So does Ray Jeffrey, who's on the board. Where's Ray Jeffrey in this? He's the attorney on the board, assuming he's still on the board, which I assume he is. Why after 7 years does the foundation now need a general counsel? That's not a real criticism. That's more of just a rhetorical question. I honestly don't know. But guys, here's why I mentioned the transparency thing. This is insane. This is insane. Now, Miriam has a series of very serious questions for Mike Rinder. Okay. Mike Rinder has a YouTube channel. He could bring Miriam on and have this conversation. Just like when me and Mitch had beef, I said, let's just do it publicly so no one can do that. He said, let's just have the conversation publicly. Now, the conversation didn't go wonderfully, but at least everyone knows what each one of us had to say in that conversation, right? Anyway, I run the risk of, I don't want to preempt the conversation that Miriam's going to have with Rabbit on this, but it's like, but this is what I mean is like, this is the opposite of being transparent. Not only am I not going to answer your email, but I'm going to have an attorney do it. And it's not going to be my attorney. It's going to be the Aftermath Foundation's attorney. Even though your questions to me had nothing to do with the Aftermath Foundation, they only had to do with me, Mike Rinder, but the general counsel of the foundation is going to respond to you. But I'm above this. I don't need to respond to you. How dare you? Anyway, I'm just going to get fired up.
No, I totally get it. And again, yeah, we really don't want to step on the toes. We actually had a somewhat of a subject we discussed possibly talking about today. But again, when we had planned this last week, and it's sometimes unavoidable to speak about the current events, and really, I think we could go on for an hour and a half about that letter and conjecture and speculation as to what sort of thing and how. I mean, again, and some people unfortunately in that camp can say, well, I'm just another person that's attacking them and jumping the bag. Going, well, no, I would choose not to say anything to you guys about it. But when you issue a letter like that to a victim that's trying to find justice, I can't. How do you sit back on that one? You really can't. And I don't know all the facts and all the details. All I know, again, is that response is inappropriate. And once I find that response inappropriate, I'm going to think there's something else behind it. Because if you were giving the right response with the right temperament and the right acknowledgement and respect, then you would think that you're doing it cordially and being polite and doing it right. But when you have a response that actually adds an insult to anyone that's potentially advocating, especially someone like Rabbit, who's not an attack dog. She's polite, she's kind, she's intellectual. She asks the questions the right way and just wants to know, and you respond like that. I'm sorry, but there's no way to call it other than that. And people may disagree with me on it, but I just think there's no other way to call it. That's inappropriate. And for a victim to have that sort of response from a foundation, when the questions were directed at Rinder himself, is inappropriate. What do I know if he's wrong or right in all the questions? Do I know if he even can give the answers? I don't. But that letter is not the right answer. That's for sure. That's the one thing I can say competently, that response is not correct.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to take too much from it. Like you say, I know. I don't know, but I'm assuming there's going to be some follow up with this, and I don't want to try to steal any thunder from that.
Yes. I mean, the reason the questions were sent from Rabbit to Mike is because Rabbit and Miriam are going to be doing an interview together. And Rabbit didn't want to bring up things in an interview that Mike didn't have a chance to respond to beforehand. It was actually just good procedure, good manners, and a courtesy to send the thing to Mike. And this is the response. So, I mean, I have seen Chris Shelton and Mark Headley in various platforms saying that, like, I'm the ringleader, getting people to turn against Mike Rinder. Nothing could be further from the truth. You guys haven't heard a word out of my mouth, and you haven't heard it out of my mouth publicly, and you haven't heard anything privately, because I really couldn't give a damn. I've moved on. Does it really seem like I'm stuck on it? Okay. The fact is, my involvement on the board of the Aftermath Foundation is what has prevented an awful lot of people like Serge, like Miriam, like others from actually saying what's been on their mind for many, 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 many years. So it's not me who's been running around being like, oh my God, this, oh my God, that. No. It's that they removed from the board the reason most people were keeping their mouths shut for the quote unquote greater good. And I think what's happened now is people are like, what does greater good mean? Greater good doesn't mean people who were victimized and abused in Scientology need to bite their tongues because speaking the truth would somehow damage the leadership. I think people are starting to go, oh, that whole feeling that people had that there were leaders, that was just a mirage. That wasn't real. That wasn't real. There are no leaders. And the truth is, there shouldn't be, because you know what? We left a cult. We didn't join one. And anyhow, that's probably all I have to say.
No, and I agree. I think it becomes a cult again when you can't question other people, when you can't question events or things that happen, when you can't ask intelligent questions and get answers. It becomes a cult. Now, of course, we do want a majority of the attention still focused on Scientology, removing their tax-exempt status, stopping them from human and child trafficking, and all the other myriad of things that we would like Scientology to stop doing. But there's a real victim here. There's a real live victim here that has a chance at getting retribution and getting justice. And anyone that may have information that stops that from happening, that is protecting their own image, that it isn't going out of their way if they know something to help that person, That's where I draw the line on that particular thing. If you can do something, if you have information that can help that person, then share that information. Share it readily, help them out however you can. Because if you were actually involved in a cover-up in relation to that, then you have a duty to do that. I don't care if you've done a billion things to help a ton of people. That's fantastic. That's wonderful. But you have a duty to help out this lady. And you know what? If you guys haven't met or seen Miriam, try watching a video with her. And you're going to find this person to be gracious, kind, well-spoken, and just a good human being. And, you know, I advocate for her because of that. Because of that. And I think if someone has information that can help her out, that can resolve this 35-year trauma for her, then it should be done, in my opinion. Not a letter from a lawyer insulting her or any of her advocates. I think that's wildly inappropriate in my mind.
The reason you guys are going to see a lot of, you know, former Sea Org members, second gen members, people who were, you know, grew up in the Sea Org, grew up in Scientology. The reason you're going to see a lot of emotion on this subject is because there is an impression that has been created by what has both by what has been said and what has not been said, that there are an awful lot of crimes against children that have been covered up in Scientology, that people have not been entirely open and honest and forthright about what exactly they knew, when exactly they knew it, and why they're not talking about it now. Why is it that I'm the one doing videos exposing Scientology pedophiles? I didn't run the Office of Special Affairs. I didn't have any firsthand knowledge of any of these things I talk about in my videos. I didn't have firsthand knowledge of this stuff when I was in Scientology. It wasn't my job to silence victims. It wasn't my job to bury lawsuits. Why am I the one who does those videos? Why aren't we hearing about that? Why aren't we hearing about those things from the individual or individuals whose job it was to deal with that? So these are the kind of questions Miriam has. I mean, I would like to see Mike just bring Miriam on his channel and go, let's lay it out on the table. If I'm not protecting anything, what's wrong with laying it all out on the table? This protect, cover up, hide behind, that's what Scientology does. That's not what former Sea Org execs are supposed to be doing. Former Sea Org execs are supposed to be spilling the beans. We all spill our beans. And that's why you're going to see emotion, you're going to see anger, and you're going to see distrust because of shit like this. My advice, fire whoever you hired as a crisis management expert and hire another one. Or better yet, fire them all and just be brutally honest and stop trying to manage and hide. I mean, anyway, I should stop, but there we go.
Yeah.
What else is going on, bro?
It's going to be hard. Look, seriously, we did not plan on talking about this the whole time. I really did want to Aaron, speak to you about the protest and your arrest. Well, I guess, can I call it arrest? I don't know.
The LAPD doesn't call it an arrest, but you can call it an arrest.
Well, I watch a lot of TV shows about cops, and I believe when you're handcuffed and put in the back of a car, that instantly is an arrest. But I do understand that there's nuances of that. How they have 25 cameras pointed at you, probably more. That's an underestimate. That's underestimated. But and then not called an arrest is something else. But guys, we're going to jump off that subject only because, as Aaron's already stated, I think he said his piece. I've said my part in that, and I think there's more to come on it. And I do really hope, in the end, the hope isn't all the noise and stuff around it. It's that the victim gets the justice and the information is provided, and she can heal. That's really the end goal. It's not to bury someone for the rest of their life. It's none of that. It's a victim, and there's an ability, a way to have justice, the same way that everyone here and everyone that participated, Aaron, yourself, the lawyers in the Jane Does, and got justice with Danny Masterson. That's the end result of the whole thing. That is the end result of the whole thing.
And that's the thing. You're not going to see our community tolerate someone like Miriam being insulted, threatened, and intimidated, and not given the help that she needs to move forward with the criminal case against her father. There's too many of us. Yep. There's no hierarchy anymore. There's no gatekeepers anymore. Transparency, honesty, accountability, those are the terms. You live up to those terms, or you deal with the consequences. So, I mean, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
It should be
I agree.
obvious. It should be
Yeah.
obvious. There's too many of us out here now. You know, no one gets to tell someone like Miriam what questions she can and cannot ask. I mean, there's many people who said, Aaron, I think you're wrong. I think you're the one that was being referred to as a dog. I think someone said, I think they're insulting Rabbit for, you know, doing those videos that kind of supported you over the foundation. And it's like, it doesn't matter who's being referred to as a dog. It's like you have Miriam, who is a victim of Scientology child sex abuse, and she wants answers. And she's being threatened, intimidated, harassed, and insulted. You guys think we're going to stand for that shit? We're not going to stand for that shit. There's a lot of us. So,
yeah,
you know.
And to be clear, in case anyone wants to go on the role of Mike's being maybe picked on or targeted, he's the only executive that ran OSA or that had affiliation with OSA. If there was another person out right now that was in OSA during this time period, same treatment. Same treatment. He just happens to be the only one. He happens to be the only one, and he must have known about it due to his position. He at least had an inkling of what went on, and he needs to just provide any information he has that can help her out and not send insulting letters from lawyers to a victim. You know, easiest case scenario. But anyways,
exactly.
I actually I don't even think we should cover their second subject. We'll save that for another time, Aaron. I did really want to get into, the arrest and keeping your cool and the effect that had on, I don't know, I guess a lot of people watching it. It was kind of, you know, again, I didn't watch it all live. I got to see it later on, but just the whole countdown to where the police had moved over to you and done the arrest. It was something else, and it's something I want to talk about. You guys know I like the psychological edge of these things, but I really think I don't want to take away from the message of this video and get on to another subject.
Okay, I appreciate that. For everyone, real quick, Rabbit will be doing an interview with Miriam. I guess I'm not sure when, possibly the next day or two. So if you're not yet subscribed to Rabbit, you find her channel at Down the Rabbit Hole News. Am I hearing you correctly that you'd rather wrap this one up for now?
Yeah. I'm a little, you know, if I get a little bit of fire or burnt up about a particular subject, it'll be hard for me to give justice to the questions and feel I was going for when talking about the previous week stuff. So yeah,
I totally appreciate that. Totally appreciate that. Yeah. Let's just run through some of these comments here. Sure. Lisa Marchbanks, Aftermath Foundation is doing exactly what Scientology is doing. Attack, always defend. It doesn't work that way in the real world. Exactly. Yeah. Cookie Monster, aka CO Bilf. I didn't catch any SPTV last night. Are Ben Franklin and Elizabeth Moss really having a baby? Lathanda Grauklinga, thank you for being open and talking the truth. Thank you for being here, Lathanda. Going rogue, LRH, always attack, never defend. Right, Mike. Telperion, I always try to use the best faith interpretation possible, but even this is bizarre. Why the proverb? Why the cryptic aggressiveness? Best faith interpretation, unprofessional communication. And that is the best faith interpretation. It's just that I would have to say there's no way that letter goes out without being signed off by Claire and Mike. There's just no chance the general counsel sends that letter without a final sign off from Claire and Mike. And that's I don't even know what to say.
No, and again, I think I've mentioned several people. I have a hard time. I like keep thinking there's nothing that can surprise me, and I'm constantly wrong about that. And I don't know why. I don't know where my judgment's flawed. But when I saw that letter, I'm like, I'm wrong again. Seriously? So don't be surprised again, guys. It's you know, yeah.
Julia O'Connell, I am honest and not a keyboard warrior. Brave Kestrel, I feel like I've heard Mike use that quote before, but I'm not positive. Debbie Green, Claire Headley had Miriam on her series, Scientology Stories, a month ago. You are absolutely correct. I can tell you this. I don't mind saying this. The reason Miriam's doing the interview with Rabbit is because she can't get a response from Claire. That's the reason. That's the reason. Okay. Sandy Duncan. Could the fleas comments be referring to you because Rabbit did the interview with you? I love you both. Yes, it definitely could have been referring to me. Valerie Boljak, no question or comment, just wanting to support you. Thank you very much. VLE, as an outsider, never inner, from what it looks like to me is Mike and the gang, including this attorney, are using Scientology tactics to get Rabbit to stop helping Miriam. Shame on this stupid attorney. Yeah, that's why I was also surprised that the letter didn't even encourage Rabbit that she might not want to do the interview. It just said, please include this letter. Again, a head scratcher.
Well, I wonder if that was them being open. I wonder if that was an attempt at being more open and forward. No, I'm not even joking. I wonder if that was like, oh, well, we're going to be open and forward. Here's a letter. Say it. Then you add the insult.
Right.
I mean, yeah. What can you say?
Lethenda Graukling, a proud fleaboard warrior. They hired crisis managers with money we donated. Yeah. Go figure. You know who didn't have to hire a crisis manager? This guy. You know who used to be Scientology's crisis manager? Mike Rinder. Bo Beats. The absurdity of their behavior is almost comical at this point. It still shocks me that I didn't see the masks slip until recently. Did you, Aaron? I feel like I've had to ask myself this question a lot lately. And I've had to sort of come to terms with the fact that the same blinders that kept me from seeing things that would not have helped me, uncomfortable truths that would not have helped me while I was in Scientology, are the same blinders I've been wearing for the last 6 years. Anytime someone came to me with complaints about this person or that person, my reflex was pretty much, like just thinking, please stop. Like just honestly, I like for the last 6 or 7 years, whenever people would be like, the Surges of the world, Surge is very vocal in his videos these days about what he really thinks. I am partially the reason why Surge has not been as vocal, because to be honest about the questions they had about Mike while I was on the board of the foundation, not only on the board, but the one running the foundation, would have been very uncomfortable and inconvenient for me. And a lot of people have been biting their tongue for my benefit for the last many years. And I feel a little silly and ridiculous about that with hindsight, you'll clap when I'm gone. Thank you. Amy Lee, Rinder's OSA dirty work is way more of a liability to the Aftermath Foundation than you ever were. There's much more to that I could say right now, but I won't. Aura, thoughts on working with Mike Rinder, who could have been prosecuted for what he's done or withheld of criminal information? I mean, I don't think I have any thoughts beyond anything we've discussed so far in this video, but thank you for your support. Okay. Ben Bang on the Drum Turner. Aaron, I have to apologize. After LA thing with you, I signed a change.org poll about you. Before reading it, it was that stupid poll about the Aftermath Foundation. All right, well, you are forgiven, my child. I know what you're talking about. Rainy Day Puddles. They just shot themselves in the foot with this. The Squirrel Squad is referring people to the Aftermath Foundation. They are not against the Aftermath Foundation. Oh, I don't think that letter referred to the Squirrel Squad. But yeah. By the way, the new foundation that will be announced and the website will launch and everything once the IRS has fully granted the tax exemption. That's what we did originally back in the day with the Aftermath Foundation. We didn't announce anything until the IRS had granted the tax exemption. You guys will be happy to know the new foundation has a board of 10 members, individual members, not married couples, all names and faces that you all know and recognize, a very good representation and cross-section of our community. And I think you guys will be very, very pleased when we're able to make the announcement. Julia O'Connell, transparency is key. Ashley Weaver, keep up the good work. I've never been a member. I was psychologically abused by my mother to a point of blaming me for her unaliving attempts. I get it. First live due to I work overnights in a hospital. Your arrest was BS. Thank you, Ashley.
Put a lot in there.
I appreciate it. Love is the law. Keep up the good fight, Aaron. We love you. Well, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Bison 5360. Haven't seen you in a while, Bison. We only know what we know until we know more. So being upfront with the truth helps getting the correct information out there. I hope I said this right where people understand. Yep. I think that makes sense to me. Lena in love. Kudos. You are up to date, speaking current affairs plus truth and transparency instead of sticking to the planned talk. Continue to lead by example. Proud Fleabag warrior. Okay. Jay Beans. I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, especially because of helping Mike Brown. No more. Please tell me Leah is the doll she appears to be. I'm not going to speak for Leah, but thank you for your support. Lisa Gillespie, on January 22nd, I wrote a letter directly to Mike Rinder addressing these very issues. Encouraged by Jamie Mustard to plead for assistance for victims, I was completely ignored. This is atrocious. Wow. How long until your foundation starts? You know, I feel like anytime I'm asked this question, I always say something like 12 weeks. I just have no idea how long it takes to get the actual approval. God forbid I get a rejection on the approval and have to resubmit. So just stay tuned. It'll be sooner than later.
Looking forward to that.
Sharona, when was all the info Rinder had on that thumb drive released to others? Do you still have a copy? Do you know if you have it all? Wow, I'm surprised Sharona knows about this. Yeah, so, you know, these leaked OSA files that you see Mark and Claire doing Tom Cruise videos about come from a drive that had thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of documents on it that Mike Rinder took when he left in 2007. I don't know why Mark and Claire feel the need to be dishonest about where these documents came from. They came from Mike. Mike gave them to the FBI maybe 15 or so years ago. And for some reason, gave them to Mark and Claire about a year ago. I do have a copy, and I don't know why Mike doesn't just say these are my files, and I don't know why he doesn't just do videos about all of them every day. Like, why is it a secret? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's one of the things that honestly has caused a lot of people to go, "You've had these files for how long?
Right.
You made them public this year. Why?" That doesn't make any sense. So, okay, Christine, was there a fire at Scientology LA yesterday? No, but fire trucks did show up and nobody seems to really know why. There was no fire. All right, guys, we are going to wrap it up here. Sterling and I will continue a different conversation at a later day and a later time.
For sure. And thanks for having me back on, man. Yeah. Interesting to see what comes in the next few days. And, you know, like you already said, you know, the community out here, a majority of the community out here is going to support Miriam in every way possible so that she can have a resolution on her case. And yeah, and we appreciate everyone else's support that's on here, all the subscribers and everybody. We know you guys are watching, looking, and seeing what's happening. So yeah, there we go.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to everyone who watches until the very end, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.